You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. you've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order.
good afternoon, racing fans. Welcome to the finale of our Formula 4 series here at the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. I am Stephen Stewart and I'll be guiding you through today's action from one of the most iconic tracks in motorsport history, nestled in the beautiful Ardennes region of Belgium. Spa-Francorchamps, spanning 7 kilometers, circuit renowned for its challenging combinations of fast, straight, sweeping, high-speed corners and technical sections. Today's race will see our drivers tackle the famous corners such as Rouge and Radion, the long Kemmel straight, and the run up the Blanchemont. Into the final bus stop chicane, while sections like Pouan test the drivers' nerves and their car control. So something definitely to look forward to, one of the more iconic tracks out there. This afternoon we should be having a very high chance of rain, with a 65% chance of rain. It was set to 100% right before the beginning of the race, but it did go down, so clearly not 100% as that would have stated. But as we head into the series finale, the stakes couldn't be any higher. Every corner, every braking zone, every exit will be crucial in determining who emerges victorious. Unfortunately, as I see Mr. Freddie Miro in the chat, we won't be having our two championship leaders. Freddie, who was basically, has cemented P1 in the championship after his 3 rounds here, and Ian Lance, who both of them have their own private things to adhere to, but that does leave, unfortunately for Mr. Lance, P2 up for grabs between P3 and P5. Even P6 has a chance once they do end up showing up in the race, but they will all be in the runnings barring any catastrophic events for them. But the battle is on. As it stands right now, the F4 the championship standing stands as Freddie Miro with 89 points, Ian Lance with 67, Ilya Rakitin, who is right now second fastest on track with 67 points, or 50 points, my apologies. Jaden Harrison with 48 points, separated by only 2. Taj Edwards 44 points, separated by a mere 4 points, my apologies. Peter Arundel again will not be making it this afternoon, unfortunately, but nonetheless we wish him all the best and excited to have him come back to the series, but and the future series, as a matter of fact, and we will be going over that in some stage of this race. But that being said, Tortullo as well in P7 with 32 points. Sebastian Sedeno, who is currently the fastest man on track, with almost 4 tenths up on his closest competitor, is sitting in P8, and I'm sure we'll be definitely trying to see if he can increase his standings in the very near future. Reese Anzabina, another driver on track right now, trying to see where he can place himself, is sitting in P9 with 20 points. Alessandro De Felice in P10 with 18 points. Jacob Palmieri showed up for 1 race and unfortunately hasn't made it back as yet, but does say he wants to come back as soon as he possibly can. Does sit in P11 with 18 points. Anthony McName in P12 with 16. Mikhail Charles with 16 in P13. Julian Narcissus in P14 with 14 points. Chad Dillon has made it for most of these events and unfortunately again will not be making it this afternoon with 12 points in P6, P15. Samir Kadura, who was the showman of last week himself, Taj Edwards and Freddie Miro, putting on what a spectacle of a fight for P1, P2 and P3 as Mr. Rakitin takes that P1 position away, but this is still just practice and it's still very much so a very high chance for rain in the very, very, very near future. So we will continue to watch for that as we ride along now with Sebastian Sedeno in P2 currently. That being said, Mark Anthony Eaton, Carlos Villavicencio and Samir Kaduro do tie for P16, 17 and 18 with 10 points each, followed by Mission Wallace with 8 points, Kurt Moss with 7, Oswin Wilson in P21 with 7 points. Kimani Eastman in P22 does have exams, so high chance we will not be seeing him this afternoon in P22. Joshua Brady is on track and does sit in P23 with 6 points. Blake Lothian in P24 with 6 points. Matthew Titus as well on track in P25 with 5 points. Vasil Faramets in P26 with 2 points. Simran Sutherland in P27 with 2 points. And Saif Rawahi in P28. And he will not be joining this week's race if I am not mistaken, because himself and even his teammate Mr. Ilya Rakitin did take part in the 24 Hours of iRacing Spa this weekend, and he will definitely be feeling the effects of that 24-hour. I'm actually even surprised that Mr. Rakitin is here, but nonetheless we appreciate his support this afternoon here at the, well, to Spa again in very challenging conditions. I'm sure will bring some very maybe very dramatic memories to his memory. But they did begin in P30. Unfortunately, had an incident and dropped all the way back to P41 to fight their way back all the way up the grid to make their way into P6. Was it? So what a drive they were. That was for them, and congrats to them. Awesome drive as always to those drivers, and very excited that they're here with us this afternoon, ready to put on a show and fight for glory. Kevin Wesley Burke, a good friend of ours from the United Kingdom, has not made many events so far, but seeing him pop up this evening does make me, or this afternoon, sorry, does make me a little bit happy. But I do know he does have work, and over there in UK is a few hours ahead, so I'm sure well, I'm hoping he'll be able to stick along for the duration of this race, but we can just ride along board with him as we speak. This is the finale of the Formula 4 Championship, something that I did enjoy thoroughly. Unfortunate that we won't have our typical grid here, but nonetheless still very excited to have those on board with us to cap off this doubleheader and finish off this weekend correct and have some fun while at it. But ladies and gentlemen, we have 25 minutes remaining, and I will enjoy this final round of our Formula 4 series. Looking forward to it, starting very soon and only in a moment's time. we see Mr. Edwards there coming around the final chicane onto the start-finish stretch. We will continue to watch him. He does set the fastest lap so far with a 2:22.658, so definitely looking like he's enjoying that car out there this evening, or this afternoon, my apologies. This setup is a locked setup, so nobody does have an advantage. Down to fuel is locked for the drivers. It is locked for a wet setup as well, so we should see an extra amount of downforce here this afternoon. We do notice those clouds are getting darker and darker as the practice session goes on and on, so we'll definitely be watching that to see what happens in the very near future. It does look like the rain should start by about the beginning of, or the midway point of qualifying based on what I'm seeing here, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be raining too much this afternoon. Maybe just a little small dew there at around 2:30, so that's halfway through the race based on what I'm seeing. So let's continue to monitor that and watch as it comes along. But based on what I'm seeing, even on the radar, not seeing much rain this afternoon. So I'm sure the drivers would love to hear that that's how it is, because they've been struggling all week practicing in the rain, and I'm sure are hoping and praying that even if it does rain, it will only be a light dew. Freddie in the chats as well, brother, happy to see you watching. Unfortunate to not see you in the on track, but nonetheless very excited to have you on board in the chat when you can, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you in the very near future. But that being said, we do have 18, almost 19 minutes remaining in this practice session. Drivers are getting acclimated with the track, with the car, with the setup, and making any fine or last minute tweaks in their brains, not necessarily on the cars themselves. But as it stands, Taj Edwards is the only one in the 222s, a good 4/10 clear of his closest competitor, Mr. Ilya Rakitin, who should know this track like the back of his hand, coming out of a 24-hour of Spa, which just ended this morning. So I'm sure he cannot wait to finish this race and just go to his bed, as I would be the same. But nonetheless, the racing is epic, and I'm sure we are all excited to see what will come in the next few moments here at Spa-Francorchamps. We will do a brief track walk once qualifying has begun, but as you all know, this is one of the favored tracks. One of my favorite, actually. We do have a Mr. Penley who typically does his best here, as we see Mr. Sedano coming out of the final chicane, heading down into turn 1 now on the start finish stretch by La Source. So we'll just ride along board with him and watch him as he goes along. He does have the third fastest time on track at the moment, only a 10th shy of his next competitor, Mr. Ilya Rakitin. Jaden Harrison now hasn't set up an indicative time that we know he's typically used to, a good 2 seconds off of the pace here, but we do know that he is having some internet issues, as we were having as well. We are on the same internet provider, so unfortunate for him. I believe he will be on a weaker network this afternoon, so I'm not sure if that is what is inhibiting his practice session, but nonetheless we'll continue to watch it. We know him as somebody who loves to take the sandbags out later down in the practice session or in the qualifying session when it actually matters. So we'll watch him and see as the practice session goes along. But as it stands, as we said, 60 minutes remaining, and we are going to be watching for that rain, watching the clouds to see what is to come in these next stages. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so close to the racing action. Please stay tuned. And as I speak, that is Mr. Kurt Massive in the server now, so he will be definitely one to throw a little mix to the action. We haven't seen him unfortunately since round one, but life does life. But we see him in the Caribbean Touring Car and the Chase for Pace series, which, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't get a chance to watch last night, what an epic weekend it was last weekend as well as yesterday. So we're hoping to cap off this double header with an amazing finale to our Formula 4 series, something I'm really looking forward to, something that we've definitely enjoyed, and even the platform of iRacing will be looking to utilize it in the very near future. We'll be hosting a little poll in our Discord to see who or what series we'll be running after this one, whether it's GT3 or GT4. Maybe we can look at even a Miata Cup. The opportunities are endless, especially with iRacing. We know that the racing is really good and the quality of drivers just keeps on getting better week after week. So definitely looking forward to see what will come in the very near future. Please stay tuned to our social medias at JSRA Official on Instagram, and we will continue to monitor as that goes along. We're right along here with Mr. Rakitin. Placed 6 in the 24 hours of Spa for Team DAU. So awesome drive from them. Started P30, had an incident, fell back to P41, and made their way all the way back to P6. So that, if you don't know about endurance racing, it's literally about never giving up and just pushing through. We will have our first official solo mini endurance as well at the end of the August. Yes, we will be partnering with GT Panama, as well as a few other countries, Argentina, Japan, and a few other countries, to see if we can build out a proper grid to enjoy the festivities of a 3-hour event. But as I said, stay tuned to our social media and we will keep you up to date with the next few events for the next few weeks and month to come. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have 13 minutes remaining in this practice session, and then we'll be joined by we'll be beginning a 20-minute qualifying session, followed by a 40-minute sprint race. Weather is still to be determined. We're watching the sky to see what will happen, but boy, it does look dark. But based on the radar, it does not look like it will be raining, and if it does rain, it won't be too much based on the radar. But hopefully we can get some rain dances out and see if the drivers can get a little bit of extra wetness on their tires, and see if we can get some drama in the mix and in the fold. There goes Reese Anzavino of America making his way sideways this afternoon. Kurt Musnow we ride along with in that, well, I was gonna say Jamaican themed Formula 4 car. Very excited to see what he will have in store for us this afternoon. We'll ride along board with him to continue and see how he fares in the top step. The 222, 223, Jaden Harrison did get his time down from the 224s, now down to 223.462. So we'll continue to watch that and see how that goes. But nonetheless, there goes Mr. Massive passing the start finish line and starting what I'm assuming is his first official hot lap of the series. So we will watch and ride along board with him to see how he fares. As a matter of fact, we can just take a cockpit view just to ride along and see if we can learn a thing or two from Mr. Massive, somebody who is a very close friend of ours here at the JSRA, and very excited to see him here and for the finale of the Formula 4 series and the beginning of and that is Mr. Massive's first official lap here with a 225.112. You know, he typically has a feeling out period, especially since this is the first time he's touched his car in quite some time. But as he came around by the source in turn 1, heads up the infamous Le Rouge and Radion here at Spa-Francorchamps, now makes his way down into the Kemmel Straight. We will ride along board with him here and watch him as he heads down the Kemmel Straight. This is the longest, or second longest straightaway on the track, heading down into Les Combes, or Les Combes, my apologies for my French, or anyways, as he heads on into turn 7, 8, 9, down into one of the, well, not my favorite, but a heavy trail braking section here by turn 10 by Brussels into turn 11. You have to be very cautious into the downhill now, into turn 11 now. This is the part where a lot of the drivers do enjoy, heading down now into turn 12, the fast left-hander right by what's it called, Puan, a double apex left-hander, and you will see the drivers utilizing and trying to maintain as much speed as they try heading down into turn 13, the fast right-hander into a right, into a left, down by the campus into another slight downhill section by turn 15. Another double right apex corner right here. The exit is crucial as you have the long run now. Right now you're going to see them utilizing the aerodynamics and keeping as much of their foot pressed down to the floor to try and carry and maintain as much speed as they head down the back stretch excuse me, down to the bus stop chicane, the final chicane of the track, as he heads down, heavy braking here into the right, now into the left, and it comes around the final corner that did look very clean. He utilizes the exit curve, and does he improve? Yes, he does, almost by a full second. So again, we do know that this is his feeling out period where he will just be using this time to learn the car, learn the track, learn the ins and outs, and just make his way through to figure it out. So please expect, even if his qualifying pace isn't necessarily on par, or practice pace at the moment isn't necessarily on par, Kurt Moss is one who does improve rapidly while on track. But as it stands, 7 minutes remaining in the practice session, and then we will be followed by a 20-minute qualifying session, and then a 40-minute sprint race. There is no mandatory pit stops like we've seen in prior races. It is a standing start, and it will be a, well, we're still hoping to see a little bit of rain to mix a little bit of drama in this this afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. But as it stands, the chance of rain just looks less and less as the time goes along, so I'm sure the drivers are happy to see that as we go along. But nonetheless, it is a very unpredictable nature of Spa. But as it stands, the track just looks, it's getting brighter than when we just started out. So we'll definitely continue to watch that and see what is to happen. But nonetheless, we are excited to see the caliber of racing here this afternoon at Spa-Francorchamps, and we are looking forward to see even the likes of Mr. Edwards here, who, what a race he had last week with Mr. Freddie Mira and Samir Kadura of Cuba, who the three of them were literally tied by the ankles, as they were literally side by side up to the necks of each other, up until the final, I think, 7 minutes, where the commentators curse may have come in and threw a unnecessary dive that threw both Mr. Taj Edwards and Samir all the way down to P6 and P7 after penalties were accrued and damages were made. But nonetheless, this is the final round here this afternoon, and I'm very excited to see what is to come here in the stages of this race. 5 minutes remaining. We do have a 20-minute qualifying session following, and I'm sure the drivers want to stamp their dominance Again, unfortunate that we will not be having Mr. Miro or Mr. Lance here this afternoon. Even Mr. Samir Kaduro, I am not noticing entering the chat. So very unfortunate. We would have wanted to finish out with a bang, but nonetheless, I know that Mr. Rakitin, Taj Edwards, and Sebastian, and Jaden and Kurt Massive are going to put on a show there for that top step, and then the drivers behind are not far apart each other. Only a mere few tenths between Reese and Matthew, and even Kevin there, who was late to the party, only 4 tenths off of the car ahead. So we'll definitely continue to watch that battle as that ensues. And then Nathan Brown and Joshua Brady, who do seem to enjoy finding themselves together on track, I'm sure will be having their own battle, and I'm sure they will be finding the pace as the race goes along, because they are not slow drivers, just maybe not enjoying this car as much as they would have wanted. But nonetheless, the rain is definitely still on. There's a slight chance of rain. Again, the clouds, it is overcast, so definitely hoping to see if there's even a drip of rain at some point in the race, but we'll continue to monitor and watch that. 3.5 minutes remaining, 13 laps have been put down. The track grip does progress as the drivers lay the rubber down, so this is like real life. It's not just jump on and go fast immediately. You have to put the laps down, and 14 laps at Spa, even if it does sound underwhelming, please be reminded that it is a almost 2.5 minute lap. So you know it does lay down the rubber, and you will see the track getting darker and darker as the session progresses. But nonetheless, we have 2 drivers in the 222s, 2 drivers in the 223 lows, and then Kurt Moss is in the 224s. I'm sure we'll be finding his pace slowly but surely. He's only 1.5 seconds off of the top step, and I'm sure, as we've seen in the past, will be making his way through the field and making his name reminded by the drivers here at Spa-Francorchamps in the finale of the Formula 4 Championship. 2.5 minutes remaining. I will give you a brief break from my voice so that we can continue to get ready for the action on the way. And just a reminder, as this is the finale of the Formula 4 Championship, we are looking forward to the drivers as well as the fans to give us their insight on what championship we should hold next. GT3 was an option, GT4 was also an option, DCR cars are also very much so an option. So we'll put them out on our social medias at JSRA Official, and we will look forward to hearing answers from you, our fans, to make sure that whatever product we put out will be the best of what we can offer, as Taj Edwards now stamping his dominance. Now with a 222, I'm sure we'll be putting that car into the pits, maybe going to rest up until the beginning of the qualifying session to come. 46 seconds remaining, so it really doesn't even make sense he tries to go back out. He could have gotten an extra lap, but at this point I think he's quite comfortable with the pace that he's found in hand. But yes, as I was saying, we are going to be looking forward to what we can put out there for the drivers as well as the fans to watch and enjoy. We will be revamping our league as well for the Friday, and well, not necessarily the Friday, but the Saturday Chase for Pace series. We've decided to make a few changes here, not make the duration of the series that long, in hopes to retain the drivers, give more persons hope of, you know, chasing that championship. So similar to what we did with the Formula 4 championship, as Mr. Rakitin comes around the final corner. Does he improve? No, he does not, and again just decides pull off and let's retire and prepare for the qualifying session. It seems everybody is basically in the pits waiting now for qualifying to begin, and as I speak, the qualifying session has begun, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see the drivers coming out now in hopes. Well, let's see who will come out first. As we notice, Reese and Zavino, first driver out to the pits to head out, and we'll be trying to see who or what time he can set and maybe set apart or set himself apart from the rest. And those are the other drivers coming back into the session now. There's 19.5 minutes. This is typical. You will see drivers popping in and out one by one as the session progresses, as we see Mr. Anzavino coming out of the pits there to start his first flying lap. We do have, I believe, Sebastian Sedeno. Yes, Sebastian is the first person to come around or come out to the pit, so we'll watch and monitor him as he begins his qualifying lap. Reese and Zavino is right behind him, followed by Mr. Joshua Brady, then Mr. Ilya Rakitin, and Mr. Kurt Massive. I believe it's Taja Edwards is the last car now to come out to the pit. So again, we'll continue to watch as the drivers do make their way around for their out lap, making sure to put as much temperature here into their tires as possible. As it stands, again, the weather is looking very I'm going to assume this is going to be a dry race, but hopefully that's a commentator's curse for the very near future. There's a 7% chance of precipitation at some point. Let me see where that was. 3:15. So yeah, we'll watch and see. Maybe the clouds will get a little bit darker, but nonetheless, we'll just ride along now with Sebastian Sedeno of Ecuador, teammates of Freddie Miro, and I'm sure the two will be, well, I saw Freddie rooting for his teammate earlier, and I'm sure we'll be continuing in hopes of his team to secure that championship. Freddie has scored the mass of the points for the drivers so far, and I'm sure we'll be enjoying this championship to see how the race will ensue in the next few stages, but we'll continue to monitor. 17 minutes remaining, and as we speak, Mr. Sedeno comes around the final chicane, by the final bus stop chicane, to start his first flying lap, and we'll ride along now as he heads down to the source in turn one. Let's ride along him here, right on board. A very tight hairpin, right hand hairpin. The exit here is crucial, so you will see them trying to maintain as much speed coming out there as possible, and at the same time I think the drivers still want to try and put in their best lap early as possible, just in case there's any possibility of rain. But there you see him flat out through Rouge and Radion on the head down now by Kemmel Straight into the turn into Lecomte by turn 7, into the left-hander by turn 8, now into turn 9, and you see him sticking and utilizing as much of the chicane the curb on exit as possible. Right here, trail braking is crucial to carry the speed as he runs down into Brussels, into turn 11 here. Utilize that exit curb. Right here is a double left-hander, late left apex, double left apex, my apologies, where you will see again them utilizing as much of that exit curve to carry as much speed, but you don't want to use too much, don't go too wide. You typically want to use that curve on the outside, but nonetheless you don't have to. But there he goes, maintain the speed as he heads down into into turns 15 now, into turn 16. Another right-hander, fast right-hander, hug the curb, use the exit corner, and now it's carrying the speed all the way through curb as they go down Blanchimont. And right here, you want to maintain the speed. It's a fast left-hander coming up now as he heads down the backstretch into the bus stop chicane, heading down now. Where will he fare as he heads down? Heavy braking here. Drop down into 2, hug that inside curb, into the left-hander, utilize the exit curb, comes around the start-finish stretch, get on the power as quickly as possible, and sets his first lap time. And it seems maybe he had invalidated that lap because it did not register, but nonetheless Ilya Rakitin is the next one to come down, and he is heading down into the bus stop chicane. Now comes around again, heavy braking, and it does look very good. Fares coming out to the exit again. He just came out of a 24-hour of Spa, so does know this track very well, I'm sure. And there he goes on the top of the timing sheet with a 2:23.349, and we'll continue to monitor as the next driver up. We'll continue to monitor as Reese and Zavina. I think that one is a little bit off the commentator's curse, but Taj Edwards now comes around the final bend and heads down the start finish line. Drivers will get about 4 laps maybe, and does put that car on pole, only a 10th clear of the driver ahead. Jaden Harrison now is on a flyer lap, I'm assuming, as he heads up the outer turn 1 now, going up Eau Rouge, and it will be trying to maintain that speed flat through Eau Rouge and up to Radion, down to Kemmel Straight, and we'll be heading down to see where he can finish off this qualifying session. 2:22s were the times to beat at the moment. 2:23 has been the fastest lap off of their banker lap at least, so we'll continue to monitor that, but we did say as low as a 2:22.1 or 2 was it by Mr. Edwards. Everybody else was a 2:22.96, and then 2:23s low, very low 2:23, so we'll continue to monitor that as that goes along. But that being said, as it stands, Ilya Rakitin is in P2, Taj Edwards, the Jamaican, in P1. Sebastian Sedeno has not set an indicative time, but will be coming around the final chicane now, and will be setting hopefully his first flying lap of this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're watching, as he comes around the start finish line, utilizing that exit curb. Where does that put him? And that is P3 with a 2:23.610. So the times are still making their way through. Ilya Rakitin is still very much so on the hunt to see if he can take back that pole position. As it stands, Taj Edwards is on provisional pole, and there goes Mr. Rakitin now into the final bus stop chicane, and again it looks very good, looks very tidy, and comes around the start finish stretch to finish his second flying lap. Does he improve? Yes, he does, and takes that P1 by 0.2 of a second. And who is that following right behind? That was Mr. Kurt Moss. We did say it earlier, he does take a second or two to get up to par with the car and the track, and there he goes, 0.2 shy of P1 with a 2:23.350. Jaden Harrison did cross the line and sets a 2:23.473. Sebastian Sedeno is now relegated to P5. Tash Edwards the first into P, the 2:22s now with a 2:22.875. So again, we'll continue to watch this battle as it will continue to push through. Matthew Titus has not set a lap, neither has Joshua Brady. They're both in the pits. Reese and Zavina now is sitting in, well, not sitting, but sorry, trying to see where he can come up in the next few stages. Kevin Burke as well has not set an indicative time. Nathan Bryan right in front of Matty Titus comes around the final bus stop chicane now, and it looks very slow, to be as respectful as possible, but he unfortunately is on his controller and is using this as his practice to get into iRacing, as he just got this sim and does set a PB there with a 2:25.776. Reese and Zavina now taking that top P6 away from him with a 2:24.671. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that. Sebastian Sedeno now was the second person who was in the 2:22s earlier, comes around the final bus stop chicane now, and we'll be trying to see if he can maybe gain that extra position above him. Remember, points do go in qualifying from P5 up to P1, starting with 5 points, ending with 1 point. So we'll continue to monitor that. But as he comes around the final corner and the start finish stretch, he does not improve. So now does sit with a 223.610. Ilya Rakitin is the next one coming up, and then we'll ride along there with Jaden Harrison, not very far behind, and I'm sure we'll be trying his best to see where he can improve his time for the stages of this race to come. But Ilya Rakitin now passing the start finish line. Does he improve? And yes, he does, now being the third driver and the fastest driver in the 222 so far, and sets a 222.654 and is now on provisional pole as the next three behind him. Mr. Jaden Harrison will be the first of the trio to come through. And now, does he improve? No. Yes, he does with a 222.923. Taj Edwards now follows. And does he improve to see if he can take back that pole position? It does not seem that way. And then Kurt Moss now is the next one up behind, and again does not improve. So as it stands, Ilya Rakitin P1 222.654, Taj Edwards 222.875, only a 10th clear of Jaden Harrison in P3 with a 222.923, and then Mr. Kurt Moss there in P4 with a 223.350. Sebastian Sedeno does rally only the top points positions with a 224.671, and we'll continue to watch that. Reese Anzavino is somebody not to give up that position as well, so he does come around that final corner. And well, no, that is not Reese, my apologies, that was Nathan Bryan that I was watching on board with, but now it is Reese Anzavino that we are watching on along with. So we'll continue to monitor and see what happens here. And that was Sebastian Sedeno, who just passed the start finish line and does improve to 223.415. We did see him faster in the practice session, and this has been slightly a trend that we've noticed in the past few races, that his practice pace and his race pace do outdo his qualifying pace. So I'm sure we'll be trying in the next 7 minutes to set a proper indicative lap of his true pace. But there is Jaden Harrison now coming around down into the bus stop chicane, and will be trying his best to see where he can improve and maybe snatch that P2 from Taj Edwards, or even P1 from Ilya Rakitin. Again, Jaden Harrison typically faster in the race than in qualifying, but still has had some very impressive qualifying positions. But there he goes across the line, does not improve, and Taj Edwards is the one right behind him and does improve to take that P1 position now, a full 10th above Mr. Rakitin ahead of him. Ilya was sitting in the pits as well as Jaden Harrison, all seemingly very comfortable with 6.5 minutes remaining. At this point, they will get maybe 2 laps if they leave at this very moment of qualifying remaining. So we'll continue to watch that. But Kurt Moss and Sebastian Sedeno are the next two up for grabs, and these two, I'm sure, have not given up on their final qualifying position. So we'll watch and monitor that as the session continues. But Kurt Moss only a mere 4/10 off of the car ahead of him. Will he be able to dethrone any of the drivers ahead? He is somebody that you never doubt. He is Mr. Massive himself, aka Kurt Moss. But he has been denoted by his peers by many occasions as Mr. Sterling Moss. So we'll definitely ride along board with him. He's not a fan of high downforce cars, but nonetheless, I'm sure he's going to be, well, he has been enjoying them of late since we've done the 24 hours of Le Mans a few months back. So I was very shocked to see him here in the Formula 4 series, but nonetheless very excited to see the future. I'm sure he can't wait for us to move back into GT3 or GT4, but as he comes around the line, he does not improve, and he will, as it stands, be sticking in that P4 position. We ride along now with the Ecuadorian of Sebastian Sedeno as he comes around the final fast right-hander into the bus stop chicane now to see if he can improve, maybe even dethrone Mr. Massive or Mr. Harrison ahead. The 222s he did do in practice, so we won't rule him out for the top row of this race, but nonetheless we'll continue to watch and monitor. He comes across the line and does not improve. He sticks in P5 with a 223.415. Taj Edwards now, as well as Ilya Rakitin, they are not sticking in the pits. They are actually right there and trying to see if they can improve and secure their position. Maybe they were just taking a brief rest, or maybe they were even trying to see if the track could grip up even a slight bit more to see if they can get that extra 10th here or there in the latter stages of this race. We will just take a brief look to see if the rain looks like it's coming down any further, and nope, it looks like it's going to be a dry race, ladies and gentlemen, to the drivers' benefit, to our slight dismay. We did want the drama to kind of throw a little bit of mix in the race, but nonetheless I think the heavy rain will come down to the GT series or whatever series we will come with in the next few weeks. Something a little bit less dramatic to deal with the rain in the very near future. The traction control in iRacing as well is really fun, but with these cars they do not come. The traction control is your feet. So I guess the iRacing god said to us, no, let's just take a break this afternoon and just enjoy the finale together here. Give the drivers as best of a chance and opportunity for them to showcase their talents here this afternoon. But very excited to see what will happen. It is now 3 minutes remaining. This should be Taj's second to last lap. So as it stands, he is on provisional pole, and we'll continue to ride along board with him to see where he will finish out this afternoon. The only or closest competitor is right there behind him in P2, and Jaden Harrison, I believe, oh no, sorry, that was Kurt Moss, is there not too far behind to see where he can come out. Joshua Brady now is on his first flying lap, so very late to the party, but I'm sure we'll be trying his best to see where he can fit in on this grid. But there goes Mr. Massive now, and I believe this would be, no, he should have one more lap after this, as long as he has enough gas. Hopefully he has not pulled George Russell, just like in the qualifying session. Hopefully I didn't spoil that for anybody, but seeing that the race has ensued already, I actually don't know the results of the race so far this afternoon, other than P1, unfortunately, because of a spoiler. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch as McLaren dominates. Won't mention who of the McLaren team did dominate nonetheless, but we'll continue to watch and monitor as we see the Jamaican coming around, and we'll just take a quick look. Ilya Rakitin now did look pretty quick there. Not sure if he made a slight mistake. And yes, it seems like he did not improve on that lap. So unfortunately, this will be his last flying lap. That is Joshua Brady that you see in the background. Kurt Moss, we were riding along board with. He is next to finish a lap, and it seems as if Ilya has made a mistake, and that does finish his qualifying session here this afternoon. We'll continue to ride along here with Mr. Massive. Looking like he's pushing that car, using the exit curbs where he can to make sure that he gains as much of an advantage as possible. And remember, a track like Spa, exits are crucial, so carrying and maintaining the speed is ideal to getting a fast lap here this afternoon. So he will be pushing and pushing and pushing to see where he can gain that extra 10th here or there. But as it stands, he is a full 10th clear of the car behind Sebastian Sedena, and I'm sure we'll be hoping that he can push through to maintain that P4 position and finish off. But 17 seconds remaining. He does have enough time for one more lap, as long as he has enough fuel. And there he goes across the finish line, and he does put a little bit of separation between himself and the Ecuadorian who is coming around, and that is Mr. Massive. Last lap there, Reese and Zavina now coming around the final corner. Who is that coming around as well? Is that Nathan Bryan? But we'll ride along board with Mr. Sebastian here as he comes around the bus stop chicane to finish off his lap and see where he can maybe has a slight lock up there. So definitely pushing to see where he can gain that advantage. He's 4 tenths down on the car ahead, comes around the start finish line and does not seem to improve, and that is his qualifying session done and wrapped up. Taj Edwards, the Jamaican, now on pole position. Does look like he does finish off this very comfortably in front with a 222.321. We'll ride along now with Joshua Brady coming around and has a very nice squirrel there, looking very untidy as he comes around the final corner. So definitely not getting the traction that he would have wanted, and that leaves his qualifying session with him in P7 to take that position from Mr. Nathan Bryan ahead of him. We'll ride along with the final two drivers, Mr. Reese and Zavino and Mr. Nathan Bryan, as they wrap up this qualifying session. We have a 40-minute sprint race on the way, ladies and gentlemen. The top 3 are separated by a mere few tenths. I can actually see the top 5. So hopefully that will continue on into the race, and the racing will be as exciting as we've normally seen here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final lap in qualifying for Mr. Reese Zavino. He needs 5 tenths to take that position, and there goes the commentator's curse as he goes wide on the exit and does have to retire the car there. The only driver remaining is Mr. Nathan Bryan. Can he take back that position away from Mr. Joshua Brady? He's now a full second off of the car ahead. Almost full second, as he's only a second and 200ths down on Mr. Brady. So I'm sure we'll be trying his best to see. He did set his PB now, and he is very new to iRacing and unfortunately is on his controller. And there it goes, ladies and gentlemen, the commentator's curse at its best as he just turns the car right back around and makes his way into the pits. Excuse me. To finalize this qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen, I am hoping that this will be the race of races here this afternoon to cap off this finale. What a series it's been, what a series it's going to be in the future with the returning drivers. We've all enjoyed it. I've gotten some very good compliments, and I extend them to the drivers in every driver's briefing to make them know that their racing is spectacular. This is in preparation for the FIA Motorsports Games, as well as we will be trying our best to send drivers overseas to represent Jamaica. So we wanted the best talent here to put our drivers up against and see who or how we would fare in the in the stages of the race to come. I am noticing Mr. Kurt Moss, Mr. Massive himself. I promise you, we'll be riding along board with you here at the start of the race. I'll try my best not to, if I'm being very honest, because it seems as if my commentator's curse is going to be extremely powerful this evening and afternoon, depending on where you're watching. So I will try my utmost best, ladies and gentlemen, to keep off of these drivers or keep their names out of my mouth. I wish you the best, Mr. Massive, for the next 40-minute sprint race to come. Ladies and gentlemen, what's to come is of the highest caliber racing here in the Caribbean. I'm excited to see what will happen, and only a minute and a half remaining until the action is coming. We will have a brief word from our sponsors as the drivers prepare their minds, their brains for the commentator's curse to come. Taj Edwards is the first driver on the grid, waiting and ready to go racing here. 1 minute remaining. A quick word from our sponsors, Ceramic Hair Jamaica, the premium ceramic hair coating business in Jamaica.
You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order.
Ladies and gentlemen, 10 seconds to go until the lights go out for these drivers. They are anxious, they are ready, and in 3, 2, 1, green light will be commencing in only a moment's time.
Green.
As the drivers now get the green light, and Taj Edwards there with a brilliant start to try and get away from the Ukrainian. The Ukrainian now as well got a very good start there in P2. Jaden Harrison is in P3 and Kurt Moss in P4. So the three are on the way as Mr. Racketin there already taking a look up on the inside to see where he can fit in, going up Rouge, and 2 wide going up this corner is not the best idea, but there they go. And Jaden Harrison taking P2 away from, although I did speak maybe a little bit too soon, but no, it seems as if he did get that position away from the Jamaican. So now it is Ilya Rakitin in P1. Gee, what is going on? Jaden Harrison is in P1. Ilya Rakitin takes a look on the inside, heading down the Kevin Straight, and Jaden Harrison takes P1 position. Ilya Rakitin is in P2. Sebastian Sedeno is in P3. Joshua Brady is in P4. He's the biggest winner so far, and Taj Edwards has been the biggest loser, now falling all the way back into P5. Kurt Moss has lost a position or 2 positions now and sits in P6, following the Jamaican Taj Edwards right ahead. But nonetheless, Sebastian Sedeno does take a look on the inside, heading down into the Puon. Sorry, excuse my French there this afternoon. But nonetheless, Joshua Brady being the surprise attacker, already finding himself in the slipstream of the Ecuadorian. Ilya Rakitin now as well, trying to see where he can make a position on the Jamaican ahead of him. Wowzers! As the drivers are literally neck and neck from P1 all the way down to P8, are separated by a few mere tenths. We do notice Reese and Zabino there and Matty Titus now side by side coming out of turns 13, my apologies. Turn 16, my apologies, as they head down the fast left hander, and this is where it's a huge overtaking position, as you will notice the braking zone, the heavy braking zone. And who is that right up above? Is that Mr. Rakitin and Mr. Harrison now fighting it out side by side? Jaden Harrison covered off the inside line and does hold suit, but who is that in the as that's Kurt Moss, Ilya Rakitin, and I saw Reese and Zabino, all 3 of them coming back on the track. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison does lead this race, followed by Sebastian Sedeno. Taj Edwards has made back position, and I think that was Joshua Brady I saw in the rear view there in the back of the pack. Matthew Titus being the best winner of them all. And what a beginning of a race that has been, ladies and gentlemen. We have the top 3 now fighting side by side as the trio head into, well, oh my word, this is a little bit too much for me now, as the trio heads down into Lecombe by turn 7, 8 and 9. Driver 604 does hold suit and holds off Mr. Taj Edwards. So it's the Jamaican followed by the Jamaican followed by the Ecuadorian, all trying to see who can gain that top step of the podium. Please be reminded as well that the top two are fighting it out for the P2 position in the overall championship standings, as they're only separated by a mere 4 points. So right now, position from qualifying and in the race does matter. As it stands, I believe Taj with qualifying would have gained that advantage. So now Jaden Harrison has no choice, but he has to be placing ahead of Mr. Taj Edwards behind him. But we know Taj has the pace. We've seen it. He's patient and will be strategically planning his moves as the race goes along. So I'm sure he will be thinking when and where. But he does have the charging Ecuadorian. I mean, we did see something similar in Formula 2 last night in the sprint race, where, well, that was a difference because of the tire materials that they have available and had available. But there goes Jaden Harrison looking very defensive, and I'm sure we'll be hugging that inside line there as he comes around that fast left-hander and will be hugging that curb. There goes Taj Edwards looking on the inside, does consider maybe would Jaden Harrison open the door for him, but there is the Ecuadorian just looking, maybe can he find himself to gain a position, and has to back out of it as he and Mr. Edwards go side by side. So now is where Taj is going to have to be looking, because he wants to attack and get ahead of the car ahead, but at the same time he has a charging Ecuadorian who does have the pace right there waiting to see and pounce if he leaves that door open. So he has to think, do I attack, do I defend, what is the best motive for my very near future? Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to watch as Matthew Titus looks like he may have made a mistake and lost the car there, now losing out to Mr. Kurt Moss, who is again unfortunate for him. And when we get a chance, we'll definitely take a look. But as I'm speaking, Taj Edwards hugs the inside, heading down into Lecombs by turn 7, and does look to see maybe can he get that move to stick. But no, Jaden Harrison with the elbows out and stuck says, no sir, this is my position to hold, and holds on to that P1 position. Taj Edwards holds the outside line now, trying to see if he can maybe force Mr. Harrison into a mistake. Harrison has had many opportunities at a podium this season, but has just been taken out left, right and center. So I know he's just trying to try his best to see if he can just get a clean race now and actually take up his first victory of the series. We've had the Dominican Republic driver, we've had a Jamaican driver, we've had Mr. Taj Edwards now, who is chasing his countryman win a race. We've had Dominican Republic Mr. Freddie Miro come from first to last, back all the way to first in the final 2 corners, or let me say final 2 laps, let me say, and come to win the race. So to cap off this finale, I'm sure Jaden Harrison would love to just stamp at least one race where it can just go right for him, but it won't come easy, as Taj Edwards is there right in the slipstream. And as we said earlier, the slipstream is going to be powerful here because exits matter. You want as much speed going down into these corners, you want to maintain as much speed, and there goes Taj just taking a look there as they head now into the bus stop chicane. Jaden Harrison there just saying, sir, I am keeping and I'm going to maintain. But there goes a slight try. He did do a little bit of coasting, maybe to see if he could capitalize on the exit, but that now puts him under threat by the Ecuadorian, who is now taking a look down the inside, heading down into turn 1 by La Source, and now the two go side by side. There's a driver coming out of the pits, and there's Jaden Harrison disconnecting for a slight bit. That driver, I believe, is Mr. Nathan Brand, races out of the way, and there goes Mr. Jaden Harrison heading up now up the Rouge, and Taj Edwards and Sebastian Sedeno are now being chased and will be fighting it out to see who can be victorious. Now Taj has to be looking in the rear view of his Formula 4 car to make sure that he does not get any action or any threats but as we speak, there goes again Sebastian Sedeno trying his luck and sends a move down the inside, heading down into turn 7, into 8 now, and Taj Edward has to concede and maybe said, alright, maybe I'm losing a little bit too much tire, maybe I'm losing even a little bit too much time. But ladies and gentlemen, if we've noticed, the sky is just looking darker and darker. Unfortunately though, well, fortunate for the drivers, but unfortunate for us, it does not look as if it will be raining this afternoon. So we'll continue to monitor this race as it goes along, but nonetheless the top 3 separated by a few mere tenths. We've seen this in race 1, we've seen this last week with Freddie, with Taj and Samir from Cuba, and we've seen it in past races before. So we'll continue to watch and monitor as this race goes. 9 minutes have elapsed, only 4 laps so far. We'll continue to monitor and hopefully get this action to stick throughout the duration of this race. About to say that this might be the cool down period of the race where, you know, we may consider some time management. We saw it last week where the drivers just kind of held put and just maintained their pace, and there goes Mr. Sedeno missing his braking marker and absolutely taking out Mr. Harrison there. And I'm sure we'll be hearing that in the stewarding report, but unfortunate for Jaden, who will definitely be having damage there on his rear wing, and puts Mr. Sedeno right there with damage to his front wing. We'll take a look there as we see a little slight bend there in the middle point of his front wing there, but Taj Edwards immediately promoted into P1, and I'm sure Jaden will be hoping and praying that these two will fight it out and bring him back into contention. And there goes Sebastian to take back P1 from Mr. Taj Edwards there, but that was very unfortunate for Mr. Harrison because he did not put a foot wrong and was just a passenger to that let's just say for the moment unfortunate circumstance. As Miss Plummer says, assassination, that may be a wrong term we should be using at this point, but nonetheless, what a unfortunate circumstance there for Mr. Harrison. I'm sure he will be pushing as hard as he can to see if he can gain back a position here. He was 2.2 seconds behind, now 1.7 seconds behind, so we'll continue to watch and monitor as that gap lessens and lessens as the race ensues. 28 minutes, call it 30 minutes remaining. I'm sure Jaden is just hoping and praying that Mr. Sebastian, you took me out, at least hold up the pack for me so I can catch back up and see if I can get back into the mix of things. That 2.2 second gap has dwindled now to 1.6 seconds. At this point, Taj Edwards would be the person with the least amount of damage at this point, even with regards to tire wear. I'm sure has been saving it more than the others around him, and will be maybe looking to see if he can make a move at some point, or maybe at this point just kind of hold forth until the racing reaches to a point where, you know, he knows that they have damage. At this point it doesn't make sense to utilize too much of the tires. We saw it last week where he left it until the last minute and last moments before he really struck an attack. Ilya Rakitin now is only 2.7 seconds off of the car ahead of him, which is Jaden Harrison. And Jaden Harrison is now in what would have been considered the DRS zone, as he was 0.9 seconds behind Mr. Taj Edwards, but now that gap has moved back up to 1.2. So we'll continue to watch and monitor. That was not a DRS zone, but they are heading up into a quote-unquote DRS zone now. But nonetheless, these are Formula 4 cars, and there goes Mr. Taj Edwards using the slipstream to get and the exit of coming out of your Rouge to see if he can maybe gain an advantage on the Ecuadorian. The Ecuadorian does have the inside line. Does he take a late braking maneuver? No, he does not. And there goes Mr. Taj Edwards into P1, and Jaden Harrison, I saw with a slight yellow flag, and the gap did extend by about 8/10. Now 2 seconds is the gap between himself and Sebastian Sedeno. Ilya Rakitin as well is only 1.5 seconds behind Jaden Harrison now. So clearly some slight mishap there for Jaden Harrison, and has to, I'm guessing, the effects of the rear wing. But that was on a straightaway, so I'd really love to see what would have happened. Let me actually take a brief look there as Jaden Harrison will take a quick replay as he heads on into 7-8, and it seemed as if he just hit the curb, went off track, and just found himself right back there. But nothing too dramatic, but did lose out to both the cars ahead and the cars behind. Ilya Rakitin is only 1.1 seconds behind, so again, I'm sure Jaden Harrison should be relatively upset at this point, but nonetheless, we will continue to watch that gap as it continues. Taj Edwards now has pulled a 1.2 second gap to the car behind. Was that Jaden Harrison disappearing? No, it was not. I'm almost certain I saw somebody disappear now, apologies. But nonetheless, Ilya Rakitin now on the hunt for the Jamaican, the Ukrainian, only 0.9 seconds of a second, 9/10 of a second behind Mr. Harrison, and will be on the hunt. Just finished a 24-hour and has already found himself back on Spa on iRacing on a different car, but nonetheless same platform. And I'm sure will be trying his best to see if he can gain that extra position, because he is as well fighting for that position. He only sits 2 positions ahead of Mr. Harrison in the championship standings. So Jaden, I'm sure, will be trying his best to see if he can gain that extra few points ahead of the car behind him, Mr. Ilya Rakitin. The 2 as it stands, if I'm not mistaken, that would be a penalty for Mr. Sebastian Sedeno. So as it stands, it is a provisional P2 or P3 as it stands for now, but it's still 25 minutes. But you can see the speed difference in the draft from the damage that Jaden has, and that is just, that must be disheartening for Jaden, because the way how Ilya was just pulling him in on that draft, that car was just, is almost like he had DRS. So we'll continue to watch and monitor that as that goes along. But right now, Jaden Harrison is definitely 110% under threat there by the Ukrainian, and I'm sure is very uncomfortable and will have 25 minutes to go to hold off the charging Ukrainian of Ilya Rakitin in these Formula 4 cars. Ladies and gentlemen, what will come in the next few minutes or moments. 2/10 is the gap between these two. Jaden Harrison has, I wanted to say, brought that gap to the car ahead of him down to 1.6. We've seen Jaden and Ilya fight in the GT3 DAU Championship, and we've seen Ilya and Jaden fight in the Formula 4 Championship up till last week. The gap is dwindling, so hopefully Jaden is now hoping that they won't be fighting too much, and they'll use each other to catch the car ahead and maybe see if they can gain that extra position and maybe fight it down later down. But Ilya clearly is saying, no sirree, I'm going to make this move stick as quickly as possible, as they head down into the bus stop chicane, and Jaden does hug that inside line and tries to squeeze out the Ukrainian and does get to, and the gap between himself is now 4/10. The gap between himself and Sebastian is now 1.4 seconds, and I'm sure Jaden is just hoping and praying he can just hold off, catch to the car ahead, and maybe put a move and put that buffer between himself and the charging Ukrainian right behind them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's only 22 minutes. And this is where we saw Mr. Rakitin really gain an advantage on the car ahead. The draft and the slipstream is just so powerful as we just run down here, as he literally just pulls alongside, does touch a little bit of grass there, as they head up side by side. Jaden Harrison hugging that inside line, but there is the slipstream of Mr. Racketing to take that position away from Jaden Harrison and moves himself up into P3, my apologies, and the final podium position. Jaden Harrison, I'm sure, will not be giving it away too easily, and hopefully will be using himself to catch up to the Ecuadorian, as the gap between Ilya and Sebastian is now only 1 second. So I'm sure these two will be trying their best to pull each other along to see where they can catch back up, but the pace difference is literally 7 tenths, call it. Ilya Rakitin with a 222.992, Taj Edwards with a 222.808, and Jaden Harrison with a 223.610, 223.534 is Sebastian, and I'm guessing that is from the damage that the two suffered earlier. But nonetheless, 7 tenths is the gap between Ilya and Sebastian. Jaden Harrison riding right there, waiting to pounce. Maybe if there's an incident, maybe if there's anything that can possibly pounce up for him, he's not giving up this battle, as he has to beat Ilya in order to win that position in the Driver Championship. But as it stands, Taj Edwards, if the race continues, hopefully this is not a commentator's curse, would be taking a P2 position away from Mr. Ian Lance there in the stages. But there goes Jaden, looking very close on the Ecuadorian, and maybe seeing if he can take back that position. The two do make contact, and now it's the three of them going to be having a drag race now, heading down into turn 1. Ilya Rakitin does have the inside line, and will he go for a late braking maneuver and see if he can get 2 in 1? And yes, there he goes. The two make it into the first corner. Sebastian just pulls out of the way for them and says, sir, no problem, I made my mistake earlier, I won't fight this one too much, and it pulls out of the way. It's relegated back to P4. Jaden Harrison takes P3 and is now in the slipstream. So will he gain an advantage of the slipstream, as he is pulling there on Mr. Rakitin? But again, I think because of the damage, he will not be getting that draft that he wants. There's a slight bump draft that I'm noticing there by Jaden, but nonetheless, it does not look as if that's going to be beneficial to him here this afternoon, as it seems he's just going to be holding in that slipstream to hopefully stick along as long as he can. Maybe even see if they can catch up to P1. Ahead is 6 seconds ahead of him. I did notice a little yellow flag there by Mr. Taj Edwards, but nonetheless nothing too dramatic, and only maybe lost a tenth or two there as he heads down into the fast double left-hander. And the two will continue pushing each other as they go along here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 20 minutes remaining. Jaden Harrison is not giving up on this race. Sebastian Sedeno is there in the background, is falling off slightly, and I think what he's feeling the effects of is the front wing. He is going to lose pace on the straights, and I'm sure we'll be feeling the effects. And here is where you want a lot of exit speed, as well as straight line speed, and as well the setups were set up for rain, so you know there is already a lot of front aero. So as a matter of fact, if you think about it, the damage to his front wing should actually be helping him more than anything else. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch and monitor that. But Jaden Harrison is still not giving up that fight, and will be pushing and seeing if he can maybe even pull a switcheroo here. Coming out of the bus stop chicane, does not seem to be making that move stick. Sebastian now is heading into the pits, and that promotes Mr. Massive now into P4. Sebastian maybe saying, hey, this car is undrivable, let me fix the damage and see where I can come out. There are 3 fast repairs, so he won't be in the pits for too long, and maybe we'll be able to catch back up and give us a little bit of action here. Hopefully it comes out sooner than later. And yes, there he goes with the fast repair and exits the pits, and will be fighting himself with Mr. Titus and possibly even Mr. Brady coming around the final corner now down the pits lane. So we watch and monitor those two gaps. Jaden Harrison not giving up on the fight though, as he's only, well, his pace is so far off of Ilio, but still somehow right there in the mix, only 3/10 off of the car ahead. Sebastian now would be on the fast tire and will be with repairs to his car as well. So the two battles to watch now is between Jaden Harrison, 3/10 off the Ukrainian Mr. Ilya Rakitin, and Sebastian Sedeno in P6 now, only 5/10 off of Matthew Titus, the Jamaican, in that blue liveried Formula 4 car. So we'll continue to watch these two as the racing goes on. I do notice a slight off track there for Mr. Rakitin. We'll just take a quick replay here, but nothing too dramatic. It seems as if it was just something registered. There it goes, as a slight off track, but the gap did not get any smaller. Well, it did actually, as it's now 2/10, and it's clear that he is Jaden Harrison is utilizing that slipstream as best as possible. Does take a look on the outside, but unfortunate for him, Mr. Rakitin does take that inside line, but there goes the switcheroo. Can he get the exit? And here is not necessarily where you want to be making the move. You'd possibly be trying it into turn one and then try to get the better exit and then head down your Rouge. But these two are the two fighting for P3 in the championship now in the overall. P4 would it be? No, P3. It would be P3 and P4 and P5, as Mr. Ian Lance is now with 67 points. So anything that these two get, it would be, well, no, if my maths is correct, they would be fighting for P4 in the championship. So we'll continue to watch and monitor this as it goes along. But ladies and gentlemen, 2/10 is the gap, and Jaden Harrison not in the slipstream of the Ukrainian. The Ukrainian taking the defensive line early and just saying, no sir, I am going to hold this position as long as I can. Jaden Harrison there, seeing if he can, and that looked like netcode errors, and Jaden Harrison is now promoted right back up into P2. Kurt Muster had a slight crash. We'll take a look at that in a moment's time. But Mr. Rakitin, unfortunate for him, did it seem as if he it seemed as if he had a little bit of a netcode error there as the two went into turn 7, 8 and 9. Sebastian did make the move as well. I copied the highlights, so we'll take a look at that in a moment's time, as he made the move on Mr. Matthew Titus there on the heading down the Kemmel Straight here. So moves are being made and the fights are being had as you see, but there goes Sebastian Sedeno as we take a brief look. Matthew Titus, however, is not giving up on that fight, as he's only a second behind the Ecuadorian in front of him, so I'm sure we'll not be giving that battle up too soon. Currently sits in P6 and we'll be hoping that anything can happen in the very near future, and we'll be sticking along. I'm sure he's hoping that I won't be watching him and giving him any bit of the commentator's curse this afternoon. Ilya Rakitin now 8/10 off of the car ahead of Jaden Harrison. We will continue to watch and ride on board with the Ukrainian here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the caliber of racing that we're used to here at the JSRA, especially in the Sunday races. I see Miss Plummer in the chats. I'm hoping that we will eventually see her when she takes a break from her motor racing career to to find herself on the iRacing platform, because I'd love to see where she would fare with the caliber of racers that we've seen. We've seen Mr. Freddie Miro there as Mr. Rakitin takes a look on the inside, and this is where they made contact in the last lap as he has to back out of it and does get a little bit squirrely here. And again, remember that these two are fighting not only in the race but also in the championship standings, so they're not going to be giving up this fight too easy. 12.5 minutes remaining as it stands. They basically lost that fight out to Taj Edwards, who is now full on, let's say, 9 seconds, 8.5 seconds ahead of the cars behind, and will be comfortably, I'm sure, just managing his pace at the moment and trying to get that final position here. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I was looking forward to that rain here to kind of throw a little bit of drama. I know that the drivers do, well, they were very worried, to say the least, right before the beginning of the race. We were looking at the forecast, and somehow we just didn't see anything on the radar. We saw the chance of the rain, but unfortunately here in Belgium, it is very much so dry. Raven there being very modest with her being P1 in position. Had she been in this race, and I'm sure she would definitely be fighting for that top step, as she is clearly one to behold in our our Assetto Corsa races. And even when she comes on board with Assetto Corsa Competizione, is a force to be reckoned with. But unfortunate that her iRacing subscription is now very unfortunate there, but nonetheless, I'm sure one day we'll see her on track here, just to put a little bit of pressure there and guilt trip her a little bit to see if we can get her on board. But I'm sure when she watches the races and sees the caliber of races and races, she will definitely find herself here sooner than later. But nonetheless, we'll be looking forward to seeing her back in the JSRA series, as well as a lot of these drivers here, as based on what we saw, the JSRA Team A last night did take the victory. I am still going through the point standings, and we'll be finalizing all of the details, because we do have a certain percentage of the championship that we will be taking a look at. So we'll continue to watch, and we'll continue to monitor and manage that, and keep abreast of our social medias here to ride along and learn more about how you can be a part of us here at the JSRA. We'd love to have you racing with us, watching with us, and just being a part of the ever-growing community. But there is Mr. Rakitin now only 5/10 off of the Jamaican ahead of him. These two are fighting not only in the race but also in the championship standings, and I'm sure the two will be not too friendly, especially when we get closer and draw narrow to the denoted desperation zone, the overtaking zone, the get out of my way zone. And the Ukrainian and the Jamaican have been very familiar with themselves from the GT3 series in the DAU Championship a few months back, and now in our own Formula 4 series. And I'm sure this will not be the last that we see the two fighting it out for glory, as they fight on for glory here at the JSRA. But as always, very excited to see them. 2/10 is the gap as they head around the fast left-hander we saw earlier, where that draft was so powerful. And there goes Mr. Rakitin now, taking a look on the inside. Jaden Harrison immediately defensive and says no sorry, but there he goes on the outside. Who has the ID line? And there goes Ilya Rakitin right around the outside. Jaden Harrison immediately seeing if he can get back that position, but no, it's going to be difficult, especially with the lack of damage for Mr. Rakitin. 8.5 minutes remaining, and the two go side by side into turn one. And again, right here is where you want to get the best exit, and the two look like they will be going side by side up to and through Eau Rouge, as Jaden Harrison takes back that position, and these two are not giving it up. They're not giving themselves an inch. But guess what? Again, we've seen it again and again and again as Jaden tries to break the toe. But there goes Mr. Rakitin now taking the inside line, and that would have been a defensive line. Jaden looks like he does get a better run heading down, but guess who has the inside line? So we've seen Jaden Harrison do it in Caribbean Touring cars. Will he try to go around the outside as he does hug the inside line? And the two are going side by side into 7, into 8, now out of 9, and Jaden Harrison maintains that P2 position. Elbows are out, and these drivers are just not giving an inch to one another and maintaining to see who can finish in the top, well, second position. But at the moment, it seems as if they're fighting for the final podium position or final championship P1 position. But nonetheless, what a fight this has been, ladies and gentlemen. Wowzers. As it stands as well, if Ilio does get, so the fight actually is for P3 and P4. Unfortunately, Aeon Lance would be relegated from P2 to about P5 after the qualifying and championship points have been calculated. But based on what I'm seeing, it might very well be a P4 or P5 position for Mr. Lance there. So the fight now is actually for P3 and P4 in the championship. Ilio would stand better in P2 obviously, but nonetheless they are fighting it out and having their battles as they head now into the final bus stop chicane. And there goes Mr. Racketing again, and this is where he seems to excel. Jaden Harrison does not give up and will try his luck again in the slipstream there. That is Reese and Zavino in the very close ahead of them as a back marker, and there is Jaden Harrison maybe trying to stick in the slipstream to see if he can maybe gain an advantage and gain that draft heading up into Rouge, and maybe see if he can make a move down into turn 7, 8 or 9 as he's done on the past 2 laps. So ladies and gentlemen, put your bets up, put them in the chat as we see them heading down the Camel Straight. Slipstream is there. Jaden Harrison trying to stick in the slipstream as much to gain as much of a speed advantage as he can possibly get, especially with the damage that he has. I'm sure that he must be trying to just stick here in the slipstream and see where he can make that move stick. But the two come out of turn 9 now and will be heading to fight it out in the next few stages as they head down that slight downhill, and the two are side by side, and this has been the common denominator between the two. And another downhill section right here. The exit is crucial as you see Jaden Harrison using as much of the exit there. Raven Plummer there calling Jaden Harrison for P2 in the standings. I'm not going to say anything because my mouth has been very powerful this afternoon, and I know that the commentator's curse is very powerful. The pace difference again though, Ilya is consistent 222.9s. Jaden Harrison has been between a 223.3, 222, 223.6. So I mean, it's been amazing that he's been able to even maintain the pace, but the driving between these two has been absolutely brilliant. This is a kind of racing that we just enjoy here at the JSRA. It's clean, it's hard, it's competitive, and nobody is giving an inch between their one another. And honestly, who wants to see that at this point? At this point, it is the get out of my way zone as Jaden Harrison just there sticks in the slipstream as they head down into the bus stop chicane. And does he send a late dive? No, does not have the positioning for himself there. Jaden, I'm sure, is hoping and praying that that back marker there of Mr. Ansavino will not get out of the way too quickly, as Ilya there just breaking the toe, going immediately defensive and trying to see if he can gain and keep that momentum away from Jaden Harrison, now only 6/10 behind. This is the closest battle so far. Sebastian Sedeno, however, has pulled up a 2-second gap to Mr. Kurt Muss, who has asked me kindly to keep his name out of my mouth. I've tried to do it for the majority of the race, but as it goes, that gap has moved from 2 seconds to 1.6. So we'll continue to monitor that gap as we go into the latter stages of this race. Ilya there going very defensive there. I'm noticing Raven trying to coach the drivers as they go along, but I don't think they're paying much attention to the JSRA chat as we speak. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison still just sticking in the slipstream there. 2/10 is the gap between himself and the Ukrainian holding on for dear life. And there's Reese and Zavino putting that car in the position where the two did not want to see it, but they do get out unscathed. But that does give Jaden a little bit of a hope to see if maybe he can mount an attack, maybe throwing off the Ukrainian a little bit, and maybe hopefully throw his game off, maybe his mindset to, say whoopsie. And that does push the drivers now. The gap is only a 10th between the two, so they will be pushing on the latter stages. 2 minutes remaining, and the race leader will be passing the finish line right at the start. Yeah, no, I think this should be the second to last lap as they head around for the final 2 sectors. So right now, Ilya will be defensive. Only a 10th separates himself. Jaden Harrison takes a look down the inside as they head down into the fast left-hander. Now will be trying his best to maybe mount an attack. So seeing if he could get on the inside line, but did not have that move where he wanted it. We've seen him do it in the past where he does stick on the outside line, and this, ladies and gentlemen, should be the final lap after this lap. But there goes Jaden Harrison. The two go side by side in the bus stop chicane, and Ilya does come out better for wear, and Jaden Harrison, they're trying to stick in the slipstream. We are seeing white flags, ladies and gentlemen, so this is the final lap here this afternoon. And now is the desperation zone. Again, they're not only fighting for position on track, they're also fighting for position on the championship standings as it stands. Ilya Rakitin does get more positions or points, let me say, from the qualifying session. So Jaden Harrison needs to make this move stick now, and it's now or forever hold their piece. And this is going to be 2/10 heading now into the turn 7 chicane. Jaden Harrison there is trying to see if maybe he can just mount an attack, maybe just force the Ukrainian into making a mistake here or there, but not making that move. And I know his final overtaking position, well, let me not say, because he has made some very unscrupulous positions, but there throws a dummy once, twice, and now he's just trying to throw the Ukrainian off of his game, and does just slip there in the slipstream. But there is Ilya Rakitin just being as defensive, keeping it cool, and there's Jaden seeing slightly of an opening, but does not have the pace and does hold the outside line now, heading down into the next sequence of corners, fast right into the fast left, and trail braking, slowly keeping that momentum through the corners. Jaden Harrison is pushing that car, that Ukrainian, through and through the corners, and is hoping that he can maybe gain that position. But as I speak, ladies and gentlemen, heading up into the final corner, we don't want to leave the action for too long, but there's Jaden Harrison there sticking a nose, hoping that he can maybe gain that position, and we'll come back right there. But there it is, Mr. Taj Edwards now making that final cross across the line, excuse my language, to take P1, and I did miss it, but we will take a quick look. But Jaden Harrison now into the final chicane, and the two are now on a drag race now, heading into the start finish, and Jaden Harrison, ladies and gentlemen, takes P2 away from the Ukrainian. We will take a look at what just happened at a moment's time, but Ilya Rakitin, after a brilliant fight, Sebastian Sudena as well, seeing if he can even mount an attack. It is a drag race between himself and Kurt Moss, and what a race and finale and finish to that race. Sebastian does not take that P4 away. Kurt Moss holds on for that final few moments, but ladies and gentlemen, as you see right there, taking a bow of excellence, the top 3 drivers making their donuts to cap off this finale. What a race that was, ladies and gentlemen. I did enjoy it. The numbers were not as we hoped, and was really and truly hoping for Taj Edwards takes a bow for his audience and brings that car into the pits to finish off the championship. Jaden Harrison as well and Ilya Rakitin. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have the top three cap off this evening's or this afternoon or evening again, depending on where you are in the commentators booth. Ladies and gentlemen, what a battle, what a show and spectacle that was between these drivers. And unfortunate for you now, you will have to be blessed with my very handsome face as we get the drivers on the way for the brief interviews. But as it stands, Taj Edwards finishes off by a dominant 17.8 seconds. Jaden Harrison in P2, Ilya Rakitin in P3, Kurt Moss in P4, Sebastian Sedeno in P5, Matty Titus in P6, Joshua Brady in P7, Reesan Zavino in P8, and Nathan Brown in P9. We'll just take a quick look at that final lap battle between the two, Jaden Harrison and Mr. Ilya Rakitin, as they headed up into the final bus stop chicane. There was a slight contact there as they headed down into the final chicane, but Jaden Harrison left it for the last moment and just found himself taking that P2 position away from the driver, the Ukrainian driver. We'll also take a quick look at that battle between Sebastian and Kurt Moss there, but it seems as if I may have missed that one. Ladies and gentlemen, what a race that was. We will take a brief intermission to just speak with the drivers and a quick word from our sponsors, Ceramic Care, who have supported us all season long, and I must give them a huge thank you for what they've done as always in these stages. But ladies and gentlemen, what a battle.
You see almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Care been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You've seen almost exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new
one. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the final podium sitter who is still very much likely to have taken that P3 position in the championship standings after we go through the mass of the the calculations of qualifying points and the race points. But nonetheless, Ilya Rakitin, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Hello, everyone.
What a race, brother. Personally, I'm going to look forward to slightly the break that I'm going to get from having to commentate from you guys, because every single week I'm leaving now without a voice. Thank you very much.
Yep, we're trying our best.
Could you walk us through your race? I mean, what a battle that was. We saw there was an unfortunate mishap there in the beginning stages of the race, but nonetheless, could you walk us through what happened there at the beginning that dropped you back, I think, all the way down to P6, P7?
Yep, so race start was quite good. I have managed to start better than Tash over the line. Then decided to do a cheeky move in Rouge, just to see what will happen. Yeah, and then unfortunately, it was at the end of the first lap or second lap. We've been going side by side with Jaden, and at least from my point of view at that time, it seemed like that, I had to go a little bit more to the inside, not to crash into him, and I clipped the curb, and well, the rest is history. Spun a little bit.
Well, we'll definitely be taking a look in the steering reports after the race, but nonetheless, I mean, you guys kept the show going for the duration of that final, let's say 50 minutes, because you guys were going at each other back to back and back. I mean, I personally I enjoyed it. If you look back at the chat, it was something to behold because we were definitely enjoying what was happening. But could you walk us through that battle, leaving it right up until the last minute there with Jaden, unfortunately losing it out in the final bus stop chicane?
Yep. So the battle was fun and it was interesting. Of course, we had a little bit of
Contact.
bumps here and there, but
Right.
nothing too critical. Also, unfortunately, there was one netcode
I
contact
saw
which
it.
left me with damaged front left wheel, which made the car quite unstable in slow right corners. For example, like the end of Camel Straight or bus stop
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So it was a lot more slidey than anyone would like due to that damage, but other than that, everything was great.
I mean,
And great job and great battle by Jaden.
again, the numbers were short, bro, but the action was packed, and I was very excited for you guys, especially in those latter stages. I mean, again, I'm going to need a cup of tea and some hulls or something to kind of soothe my voice, maybe some honey and lime. But nonetheless, bro, it was a pleasure having you here this season. And I am definitely looking forward to more collaborations with not just our events, but even trying to see if we can send drivers over to support you guys over at the DAU league because we took part with you a few months ago, and honestly, I can't wait to join again.
Yep, it's always pleasure to be here, and it will be great to see you at our races. We don't have like a calendar for next season as for now, but as soon as we get one, I will send it to you.
Thank you so much. And I'll do the same, especially with any future collaborations with us for the Sunday series. So looking forward to it, man.
Yep, same
And
for me.
epic drive again, and really happy to have you, bro. Have a good night.
Thanks. Same for you.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Ilya Rakitin of DAU. What a brilliant drive that he had between himself and Mr. Jaden Harrison, who, I mean, he was in P1 and it seemed had a catastrophic incident there with himself and the Ecuadorian running into the rear of his Formula 4 car. I'm guessing he even got damaged, but he can just walk us through as quickly as we have Mr. Harrison on board. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Jaden, again, unfortunate for you there with Mr. Sedeno earlier in the race. We saw we were live on board with him actually, where he just ran into the rear of your car, and I mean it was denoted assassination, to say the least. But nonetheless, could you just walk us through that incident there, what damage were you feeling in the car, and you could just walk us through that stage of the race where you had to just try and catch back up?
Um. Yeah, I had suspension damage, so the car was basically I had to slow down a lot more for the corners. But it's a good thing when he hit me, he didn't wait on me, but he slowed down Teddy a little bit.
Right.
So I could have caught back up, but I did damage, so I wasn't used to the car instantly. So I ran off a couple of times trying to catch, and then Teddy just ran away. But I think if that incident didn't happen, I think I could have stayed in the battle for P1 because I didn't have the pace, the raw pace to fight for P1, but I was defending lap after lap after lap holding P1. So I think if that didn't happen, I think I could have fought for first place with racecraft and stay, especially with the slipstream, you can't fall out of contention. You don't make any major mistake.
Right, and that's something that we saw. The slipstream here was extremely powerful. we saw literally Ilya Rakitin just drawing you in on the straights in at moments, and we are over here wondering if there was maybe a possible ERS or DRS system in the Formula 4 car for this afternoon. But nonetheless, we before we get into even that battle between you and him, I just want to ask you quickly, unfortunate for you in the first round, the second round, it looked as if you weren't getting a break. I could even slightly blame myself here for the commentator's curse, because I did say that maybe you'd get your fair look here, because you did look like you had the pace once you had P1. And I know you have the race craft to defend as best as possible, as we saw with Mr. Rakitin and yourself. But could you just walk us through your thoughts on the championship and the future of yourself with iRacing here especially on a Sunday?
Yes, it was good. It was a good opportunity to drive this car for the first time. Um, I don't drive the open wheel cars, so it was learning for me. So I wasn't really expecting to do good, but I think it was good and had good racing. It would have even bigger grid. It would have been even better. I don't think we can go wrong anywhere with this car and then the track. So I think it was very good and looking forward to another one.
And I'm looking forward to it as well, brother. And finally, I just want to ask you that you left the move up until the last moment. Did you have any thoughts that maybe you couldn't do it at any stage in the race, or did you just say, no, this is my moment to shine and I'm going to make it shine? Was that the case here this afternoon? Could you just walk us through those final moments with that battle between yourself and Mr. Rakitin there?
Well, yeah, and I had the damage. I knew I couldn't pull away on the raw pace and the slipstream as well. So I wasn't really trying to fight, especially with Kurt being 4 seconds. But after Kurt fell off, I just started to try testing some moves. The lap before the last lap, I sent a move around the last corner just to see where I could brake and stuff on the limit. And I know because of the slipstream, I couldn't, pull away. So I just lifted and just stayed behind very close intentionally. And then I got the run and got on the brakes late and the move stuck. So yeah, I had a little bit of neck code incident with some lag
We
there,
saw it
but it
live.
worked out good.
Yeah, we saw it live. We saw a few net coding issues here and there, but nonetheless, the racing was epic, brother. I mean, again, as always, I'm happy to have you on board with us here at the JSRA. You are integral to the running of the JSRA, and please be proud of that, and to not only be behind the seats but at the forefront of it. I take a lot of pride knowing that you are a huge role, or you have a huge role here at the JSRA. But again, congratulations, and we'll tally the points to see where you would finish up in the overall championship standings at the end of this race.
Yep. Well, look forward to the next one.
And I look forward
Thanks.
to you as joining with us again and again and again as we move forward into the next few stages of the JSRA. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Jaden Harrison of the JSRA, coming out in better of the two between himself and Mr. Ilya Rakitin, and finishing off in P2, but finishing off in P1 with a dominant 17-second gap is Mr. Taj Edwards. Had a few very entertaining battles there in the beginning stages. Looked like he was just managing his pace, managing his tires, and just waiting for the drivers. But let's hear from him first. Mr. Edwards, can you hear us?
Yeah, man, loud and clear. It's a good road. I mean, at the start, like you said, yeah, I was just managing because with that long run up Kemmel Street, the guys can stay in the draft and things can get spicy. So I was just extra cautious at the
Right.
beginning.
Definitely. And we could kind of tell it in your driving style that you knew you had the pace already, so you weren't really rushing to make any moves, which just goes exactly to your racecraft that we have been blessed to be familiar with now. I think in the 3 stages that you've been here, you've stated your dominance, and I think most persons should know your name by now. Any thoughts on the championship?
Uh, it's a bit bittersweet because I know if I didn't mess up in what was it, Tsukuba,
Sukuba.
I could have had a chance to win it, but I think Ian is the champion, so congrats to him. I'm not sure, but I think it's gonna be Ian.
Well,
Congrats to him.
actually, based on my quick maths, and I'm not very good at maths, so please don't hold me to it. As it stands, Freddie Rodriguez is definitely in P1. I think he basically cemented P1 from Aeon didn't enter last week or this week's race, but I believe you would be passing Mr. Lance now for P2 in the championship, if my maths is correct.
Yeah, so congrats to Freddie. I mean, if I had just not messed up in Tsukuba, I would have had a shot at the championship, I think. But all in all, for competing in 3 rounds, it was really good. For this race, I knew I had the pace. I just had to stay out of trouble. And then once I got in a position where I noticed it was Jaden who got bumped, and then it was me and Sebastian, I think. I just let him go on the camel straight and then waited the next lap, passed him back, and then just pushed to break the draft and was able to open up the gap.
Uh, Again, no, brother. Again, I'm very excited to have you. Not only to thank you again for coming on for the finale, but also, for the future events that we have planning. I'm definitely looking forward to your input to where we can, one, improve the quality of racing, not just for the fans, but even for you guys, the drivers, as well as, make sure that whatever we do is just entertaining at the highest level. We do take pride, we're Jamaican, so we're little but we're Talawa. So we do take pride in, setting up a stage for you guys to enjoy the clean, hard, and competitive races to put forth. But as you should know, this championship was actually to start preparing drivers for the national qualifiers and the FIA Motorsports Games that will be coming up in October. Will we be seeing you take part in the national qualifiers to see if you can come forth to represent your country in the next few months?
It's the first I'm hearing about it, but I mean, it depends. If it fits into my schedule, then yes, I'll gladly take part in it. Not sure which platform because right now I'm only on the iRacing, but if it's whichever platform and it's a reasonable enough good event, to test my chops, I'll transfer over to whatever platform it's on. And then secondly, like you said, yeah, Jamaicans, we look about with followers, so anything we do, we try to do it the best. We're making a lot of strides in motorsports on the international
Definitely.
scene. And I think we have a couple persons in F4, F3,
Right,
and then we have two in GT4s in Germany, I think.
right. And
So
we'll have
yeah, in the
Fraser.
international,
Yep. Sorry.
yeah, we have Fraser McConnell in Rallycross, I think. Yeah, so on the international scene, we're making a lot of waves, and I think in the sim racing scene as well, as it will continue to grow in the country, then we'll start making waves in that as well.
Absolutely.
But all in all, it's a very good championship. I really enjoyed the battle. I mean, a lot of the times you had to be cerebral, to say the least. You had to be smart and set up how you wanted to execute a race. Because even for this race, I thought it would have been a monsoon. I thought it would be Beryl 2.0, but
Right.
when the server loaded and I saw it was dry, I was like, okay then. I'd probably done like 2 laps in the dry or something like that. So
You
got
had to adapt.
just yeah, got to adapt, made sure I selected the right tire, and I just put in some laps in practice, got comfortable, and then it was all about, the mental game at the start, and then once I had the opportunity to break away, I took it and, just try to
Run
extend the
away with
lead.
it.
Yeah,
Well,
something like that.
bro, it was an epic run from you, and again, congratulations. I think my maths is not too off, but I believe you should be passing Mr. Lance there for P2 in the championship standings, but we'll definitely do the maths and do all calculations to see what had happened there. But nonetheless, bro, congrats. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the your vote in the poll for the next series that we're gonna have. I'm thinking GT3. I've heard GT4, I've heard TCR, so we'll leave it up to a driver vote amongst the masses, and we'll see where we can come to a conclusion and get the series back underway. And I'm hoping that we'll see you back when you get the chance, obviously, to represent again and showcase your skills and your talents.
Yeah, man, definitely looking forward to racing with the JSRA again. So, yeah, congrats to the JSRA for putting this together. It's really, eye-opening for a lot of persons in Jamaica and the Caribbean about sim racing. So, getting it spread and getting a platform, getting it broadcasted to the masses, then it's only going to make sim racing grow, and then the organization as well. Thank you to all the drivers who participated.
Definitely.
It was fun, and definitely thank you for your excellent broadcast. I always go back and watch them because, see how I performed, or
Nice.
all the spicy beefs in the race
Nice.
and the battles and stuff. And you're always excellent with the broadcast. So look forward to the future and this series and your good work. All right.
Man, thank you for the compliments. Yeah, Mary blushing. I'm sure you see it in the stream when you watch your replay. But nonetheless, bro, you guys are the ones that give the action. So it's a blessing to have you guys on board. And again, thank you for the kind words, man. And I'm looking forward to a very long and fruitful relationship with you and the other drivers. And as you said, a huge shout out to the drivers, not only the Jamaicans, but we've had Ecuadorians, we've had Ukrainians, we've had Trinidad and Tobago, we've had Barbados, we've had Germans. I mean, drivers from all across the globe coming out. Dominican Republic again taking P1, showing up and just stamping his dominance here at the JSRA. So huge shout out to all the drivers. We've made new friends. A piece of Reese in the chats, Mr. Reese's Pieces, has become one of my closest friends now. And it's as a result of sim racing. And I love that the relationships that we can build here from a platform that we all enjoy and we love can be used, to benefit not just us but everybody in the standings. We are looking for sponsorship to pay out to the drivers. We just finished our Chase for Pace finale yesterday, and that was incentivized, and we're already in discussions to have another event incentivized in the next few months. So we are small and we are growing, but nonetheless we have the blessings of God behind us. We have a blessing of drivers that just have a different level of talent that we haven't seen in quite some time, and I am forever grateful for the plethora of talent, the plethora of personalities that we've been enthralled with over the past few weeks. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us, especially for the finale. Thank you for the JMMC for giving us the opportunity to even host a championship of this caliber, our first ever FIA regulated event, something that we do take a lot of pride in here at the JSRA. Very proud of what we've accomplished, very proud of the drivers that we've had a part of this journey, and I'm looking forward to many more years of dominance in the league. And Mr. Edwards, again, thank you for spending the time with us and listening to me babble for a little bit of time
All
there.
good, all good.
But nonetheless, looking forward to seeing you again, brother. And we'll
Yeah,
talk
man.
soon. I'll send you all the information. You can look forward. We should be posting all of the information on the national qualifiers by tomorrow afternoon on our social media, Discord, and on our WhatsApp. So you will be abreast of all the information. We'll be using Assetto Corsa Competizione as well as the same Formula 4 cars in iRacing. So it's not, you won't be too unfamiliar. Let's just say.
Yeah, I hope so. But thanks again, man, and thanks for having me. And really enjoyed it until the next league and the next season. Just
Yes,
walk
sir.
with me, and I'll see you next time. All right.
Bless you. Thank you as well for joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Taj Edwards again. Very happy that we've met new faces. Taj, we met him through this league, and I'm sure we'll, as you heard, we'll be seeing him again very, very soon. But nonetheless, I've been your host for this season. We'll be still trying to see if we can get a commentator to either ride along board with me or take over from me. But nonetheless, we will be continuing to bring the action. Stay tuned to our social media for any future events that we will have coming up, our national qualifiers being one, and the rest of the next iRacing series that we'll be having. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, El Presidente. They call me Mr. Stephen Stewart, and I'm definitely wishing you a lovely evening, a lovely afternoon, a lovely morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you, and have a wonderful day or night. We are coming up to as
man, so
there is a run.
outside. Oh yeah.
Let's try the switcheroo.
We all know what this is gonna be. You came and failed the test, you met the best, expected chess, but got monopoly. I came and bought you out, I knocked you out, I cropped you out with no apologies. I am the hope, the heart, the faith, the spark, the one who will fulfill the prophecy. I just been counting, never lounging, climbing up mountains, bouncing back. Step in the ring of us, you step back. They'll learn hot when I get on the track. I like it louder the most. Watching all these sheep just bow down to the goat. If I can't decide, I'ma probably get both. We didn't celebrate, but right now I'm a toast. Resurrected.
Here is Eastman going side by side with Jaden Harrison. Jaden Harrison took him on the inside, but Eastman says no and closes the door. But here he is now about to lose 2 positions heading into the penultimate corner. Now coming through the final corner, Kian must get past Eastman as well.